In the soft light of early evening, Avni and Rohan stood at the gates of Bhangarh fort, the remnants of the sun casting long shadows over the ancient stones. The air was thick with the scent of wildflowers mixed with something less pleasant, something dank and old. A sign at the entrance warned them, entering the borders of Bhangarh before sunrise and after sunset is strictly prohibited. Legends whispered that those who dared defy this rule never returned. Rohan, a thrill-seeker by nature, had laughed off the warnings. "It's just a dilapidated old fort," he scoffed, adjusting his backpack. What could possibly happen? Avni wasn't so sure. The challenge to spend the night in India's most haunted location had seemed exciting in the bustling cafe back in Jaipur. But now, with the eerie silence enveloping them like a cold blanket, her courage faltered. "Come on, Avni. It's just for one night," Rohan urged, his voice a mix of excitement and an edge of something else. Fear, perhaps. They stepped through the archway, and the atmosphere changed. The ruins of Bhangarh, with its crumbling temples, banyan trees entwined around broken pillars, and ivy-laden walls, felt alive, watching, waiting. As they walked deeper into the fort, the playful banter died away, replaced by a heavy stillness. Their first few hours were spent exploring. They wandered through the marketplace, now just a series of broken columns and scattered stones. The royal palace, at the edge of the fort, offered a panoramic view of the surrounding mountains, now dark silhouettes against a twilight sky. As night descended, they set up camp in what looked like an old courtyard. Avni tried to ignore the chill that crept up her spine as darkness swallowed the fort, the only light coming from their flickering campfire. Suddenly, the wind carried a soft, haunting melody, a woman's voice singing. In the distance, the sound was melancholic, filled with pain and anger. Rohan stood up, his face a mask of curiosity. "Did you hear that?" he whispered. "Yeah," Avni replied, her voice barely audible. "Should we check it out?" With only their flashlights to guide them, they followed the sound to a small temple at the fort's boundary. The singing stopped abruptly as they approached, replaced by an oppressive silence. "Hello," Rohan called into the darkness. No answer. They turned to leave when a cold voice sliced through the night. "Why have you come here?" The voice was raspy, filled with malice. They spun around, and in the dim light of their flashlights, they saw her. A woman, ancient and decrepit, her eyes a void of darkness, her clothes tattered and covered in dirt. Her long, matted hair flowed around her like a cloak. She looked like a creature forgotten by time. "You should not have come," the witch hissed, her voice echoing off the stone walls. "This place is cursed, and now so are you." Rohan took a step forward. "We meant no harm. We'll leave, just—" "No!" The witch's shriek made them both flinch. "You'll stay. Forever." She raised her arms, and the ground trembled beneath their feet. Avni grabbed Rohan's arm, terror rooting her to the spot. Shadows seemed to twist around the witch, forming images of agonized faces and twisted bodies. "The souls of those who perish here never leave," she crooned, a wicked smile spreading across her face. "They wander, trapped, eternally." Rohan, usually fearless, looked pale. "What do you want from us?" he managed to say. "Your fear," she whispered, moving closer. "It feeds the spirits. It keeps me alive." Avni felt the air grow colder, the shadows darker. She thought of all the stories she had heard, of people who had ventured into haunted places and never returned. She had always thought them mere tales to scare children. "Run," Rohan muttered, and they turned, sprinting back toward their camp. Behind them, the witch's laughter filled the air, a sound so terrifying it seemed to chase them faster than their feet could carry. They didn't stop running until they burst out of the fort's gates, the first light of dawn spilling over the horizon. Only when they reached the village did they dare to look back. The fort stood silent and imposing, as if nothing had occurred. Neither spoke of what had happened, each wrapped in their own relief and terror. The villagers found them later that morning, huddled together by the roadside. The witch of Bhangarh Fort was real, and they had survived her curse, but at a cost. They left a part of themselves behind in those ancient stones,